that he taught you. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, both of my parents have been huge role models, and if you're lucky in life, maybe those role models are your parents, or maybe they're your grandparents, or they could be an uncle, an aunt, or whatever, or friends or bosses. And so, again, I've been fortunate because my parents were those in many, many ways for me. And Dad had on his desk, actually on his desk, but on the wall behind it, he was a lawyer, and small-town lawyer in Vermont, and on his wall he had two what's the word I'm looking for? I'm stretching for the word. Two little things on his wall that hung there that had quotes. How's that? I can't think of what the word is. I'm looking for it. But anyways, one of them was Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena, and if you go to Steve's website, the rightthinking.org website, you'll find it. And the other he had was the Max Ehrmann's Desiderata, which is a little bit longer piece, and I think Dad probably looked at those about every day. I look at those two pieces on a regular basis, and the reason is they inspire me, and they're simple, and they talk about hanging in there and fighting on and doing that. And again, like I said, you can learn from others, and I learned from obviously my parents, but I learned from writers like that. These are simple things. But anyways, where that really became clear to me is watching Dad battle cancer. So he got cancer at a relatively young age. He was in his 50s, prostate, which most men will get during their life. And somewhere along, about 8 or 10 years in, they gave him months, and months to live. And we all got in the car quickly, and we moved from Virginia, not moved, but we visited from Virginia to Vermont, and it had just consumed his body. It was in his bones, and it was in all sorts of places, and he was in so much pain, you literally couldn't touch him. He was in that much pain. And anyway, so we all went up over the holidays and to basically, have a last holiday and say goodbye. And so in talking with Dad, I said, how you doing? He goes, well, I think it's a lot of pain, but I'm feeling pretty good. And I was like, well, tell me about that. And he goes, well, I've been to the doctors, and a whole bunch of them say, well, it's, I don't have a lot of time, but, I talked to this one doctor, and he said, no, I've seen people last, 12, 15 years from where you are. And so Dad said, he just said, I choose to take that advice. So he really sunk his head into it, his mind into it, and said, no, I'm going to be around. And damned if he wasn't around 12, 15 years later. And I don't know what the medical proof on this is, but I believe so much of it was his spirit that says, I'm going to be here. A lot of stuff I have left to do. And he battled it. This wasn't easy, but he battled it with good cheer, and we took trips, and every spring he'd come down from Vermont, and we'd go visit Civil War battlefields, and when we were done with that weekend, I'd put another one on the calendar for the next year, and we'd be shooting for that, and he'd come back down, and my brothers and I would do this, and my kids, and so it was that kind of, this was not an easy process, and it was hard, but he always kept, the right attitude, the cheer about it, joked about it, and realized, life is still good even though it's a hard time. The alternative is worse. So anyways, learned a lot from those types of experiences, and I try to take them into my own life.
Yeah, well, Dave, I know that you keep a grueling schedule, and that you're involved in numerous nonprofit organizations that you try to help them get their message out. And I thank you again for being part of Right Thinking Foundation. But Dave, can you share a little bit about some of the nonprofits that you work with and why you do that?
Sure. So my business, the company that we started, quite a few years ago, is called Concursive. And over the last almost 17, 18 years, we've built technology, quote, a platform, a technology platform, and the purpose of the platform is to connect people. And so historically, so what does that mean? Well, that means a company, a big business or a small business that wants to connect their employees together into something that would look and feel and act like a Facebook, with, walls and comments and blogs and all pictures and photos. If they wanted to build one of those, they could license our software to do that. They could build their own private social kind of environment. Or they could license our software and they could try to build, a business out of on top of our software. So a number of years ago, we decided as a business that we will still license our software, that anybody that wants to pay us money to use it to go build a community, and we still do that. So we license our software to others. But increasingly, we decided to use our technology to address what we call problems that matter. And to address problems that matter where the solution is greatly about people working together, people connecting. You will think about kind of bringing the crowd together to solve a problem. So we said, let's keep our eyes and ears open. When we see problems where the solution is greatly about people, then our technology is relevant. And so going back to, obviously, Steve, you know this, when you and I kind of linked back up years ago and you were telling me about prisons and you're working there, and we started talking about, well, what happens when the prisoners are released? How do you help them then? And the answer is greatly, it's about people. It's about trying to connect those individuals, returning citizens, with better influences than they had before. Mentors. How do you connect them with better information? And how do you connect them with jobs? And the answer is, while it's about people, it's also about technology can help. And so that's the intersection that we're most interested in, is looking for problems where we can bring more people to try to work on it and solve it. And our little piece of the puzzle is we just have a big piece of software that has, 6 or 7 million lines of code to it. And so we don't have to repay for that. We can kind of bring it. So that's led us to do work around food insecurity, hunger. How do we get more food picked up from people who have food they can give to people that need the food? And I don't know if it's this embarrassing or horrible thing about this problem in the United States, and it's this problem around the world, but in the United States, we throw away or plow under or goes bad as much food as consumed in the United States. Think about that. As much food is consumed in the United States, an equal amount either goes bad or is thrown away or is plowed under, meaning the farmers have it, they don't have any way to get it to market, so they plow it under. So food insecurity, the solution is a distribution problem. How do we get more of that to the people that need it? And we do that through connecting people. So we have a little company that it's not even a company, it's just a product. It's an initiative called WeFeed.us. And we're working with the city of Norfolk in Virginia and the city of Virginia Beach, and we're working with the Food Bank of Southeast Virginia. And when I say we and working, it's strictly a informal collaboration. We just bring the technology, and we're bringing some young, smart kids to help us, and they're bringing a few dollars, and we're working with nonprofits, and we're working with faith-based organizations. And it truly is a collaboration. We don't know how we're going to, well, I can tell you, we're not making any money at this. All we do is, quote, lose and spend money. But that's okay. That's fine. It's not a lot of money, and it's the right thing. So we're working in food insecurity. We're working around autism, trying to connect autism, families that have autistic children or members of their family with better resources, doing some early work with Gold Star, the Gold Star community, which we are incredibly sympathetic to, and how do you support them better? And then we're also pointing our technology at areas where we think, hopefully, we can have more commercial success. And so the more commercial success we have by licensing our technology to people that can pay us allows us to take that money and do things that, quite frankly, we don't see any kind of financial return, but that's okay. I'll tell you, the stuff that we do in these food area and is just so much more rewarding, quite frankly, than selling technology to a big company to use internally. So,
Dave,
anyways, and that's how we've run it, obviously, together.
Let me interject something
here.
Yeah, I want to bring it back down to a little bit more ground level. I want to let the listeners understand something that I understand. That day that I come back to where you were doing your seminar, and I was just so enjoying what your point was to move on with your life and so forth. One of the things that I said to you was, I do $1 million business deals. You do $1 billion business deals. And what I meant by that was, there's a term in business where you use it sometimes. Let's look at it from 10,000 feet up. Like, let's look at the real big picture. Well, what I want to tell everybody that's listening is, Dave is a guy that has the heart for people. He has the heart to want to be there for other people. I think that's why I love Dave so much and why he's my close friend. But what I'm trying to get at is this. It takes people that can think at that higher level, and then other people like me to get out there and kind of put those thoughts into action sometimes. Dave puts thoughts into actions, but Dave, you're always looking at the really big picture, and I've been around you so much that sometimes I don't understand how it works and how that can be. But the longer I'm around you, I see that, wow, it's like a visionary that sees something that nobody else sees. With that, Dave, I'm not just trying to kiss up to you. I'm trying to bring it to the listeners' understanding that when you talk about your Connect software, sometimes it's hard for me to understand how can being involved in like a social media kind of thing really help people move on with their lives and succeed. And one of the features of Connect that I really like is how you can do an action plan for somebody. Would you explain that feature of how if we were to mentor somebody that had been recently released from prison or is somebody that we're trying to help along, how your platform can focus them towards success?
Sure. A great question. Success, at least in my belief of success and everything that's helped me succeed and people that I know have succeeded, it's a pretty simple formula. You just gotta, you gotta keep at it. You gotta make a list. You gotta make a plan, and you just gotta really grind through it. And unfortunately, most things don't just fall in your lap. And so our technology, and again, it has a lot of features that look and feel like a Facebook or a LinkedIn or those types of things. What I mean by that is where you can connect with people, and literally in things like walls and replies and all those things that you if you've used any of these social technologies, you would be familiar with them. But what Steve is referring to is it has some other capabilities as well. The ability to make a simple plan, make a list of things to do. And again, that sounds pretty trite, but it's incredibly important to make a list of things to do and then check them off and do them. What's important also about these Connect technologies is I can build myself a little team. So when I'm building my list of 10 or 15 things that I'm going to do, if Steve is on my little private team area and maybe I get Jeff on my team area, and maybe I'm a returning citizen, and they've helped me build the list of things I have to do. And they've, in my private little work area, they've maybe put a few documents and things they think I should read. And so they're looking at the same list of things that I say I'm going to do. They're looking at it. And they're my mentors, and they're my coaches, and they're my friends, and they want me to succeed. And when I don't do them, they can look and see that I haven't done them because I didn't check them off. And they can get hold of me, just like my parents used to do. When I said I would do something and I didn't do something, they reminded me, sometimes with a hug, and then many times with a kick in the fanny. Say, no, you're falling down here, get going again. And so making lists and making them transparent is a huge part of success, and just doing what you say you're going to do. Steve talked about credit last time. and credits